Who knows, the proper actions. I have been with my wife for 12 years and married for over 7. Through my investigations, I have recently found she cheated on me. She has carried on a 6-month affair with another married man that ended in early December. I am confident it is over. I confronted her and I believe she has been truthful on what exactly has occurred. Why did she cheat? I most certainly have not given her what she has needed in a very long time, and I take full responsibility for my shortcomings as a husband. This, of course, does not justify the infidelity. I do not know how, but I feel a sense that I might actually be able to forgive her someday, and I still love her. We have done more talking in the last 5 days than we had done in the previous 9 years, it feels like. Some of the conversations not good as I question what she did exactly, and some of the conversations are good as I realize that we have wanted many of the same things but just lack the tools to give them to each other. I believe we are heading on a path to reconciliation. Now for my question. Although in the end, my wife was a willful participant in this affair, it appears to me he was the initial aggressor. She gave into his manipulation as he played on the simple things that I wasn't giving her. It trash almost. There needs to be consequences for everyone in this situation. 1. My wife cheated as a result of my failure to serve her emotional needs. 2. My wife, she got caught and has risked potential divorce. 3. The other man. Nothing. I have the ability to contact the other man's wife and I have details about him and also a few emails from my wife to him. I also know that he has cheated on his wife in the past and that she knows about it. I'm fairly confident she doesn't know about my wife though. I want to call her and tell her what else her husband had been doing from June until December 2020. We will then all have consequences. Basically, I want revenge. I don't feel as if I am accepting blame for her cheating, but I am surely accepting blame for my shortcomings as a husband. It is just a terrible shame and totally gut-wrenching she made the choice she did and the way she did it. I am beginning to understand that forgiveness may be possible, but I certainly will never forget. I have a list of things she must do in order to regain my trust. Those things must be agreed upon before I can completely begin working on giving her the non-material things that I know I am capable of giving. Hopefully the marriage counselor will put things in perspective for both of us. We clearly have 2 issues. One being our failed marriage, for which we each own 50%, and the second her infidelity, for which she owns 100%. I feel she may see things slightly different though, but that's probably expected in cases such as these. Time will tell. I have not made any final decision on telling the spouse due to mistakes I believe I made in the first 24 to 48 hours after I found out about my wife's infidelity. I think I would rather concentrate on any potential reconciliation than revenge or justice, as some of you have stated. I think I will use the post to spill some of my thoughts in between, as they are therapeutic in a way. We have our first marriage counseling session tomorrow. She has agreed to attempt to reconcile. She has apologized in a sincere manner, even taking responsibility for the affair, acknowledging she should have shaken me until I understood what she was lacking instead of acting out the way she chose. I believe she wants to reconcile. I have concerns that she truly understands what it will take. I never thought I would be in this position, as one of the traits I thought I loved most about my wife was her dedication and loyalty. What a fool I was. No one is ever safe. The 6-month affair was so emotional in her eyes and took place in such a deceitful and premeditated way through that period, it makes me want to throw up every time I think about it. How is she capable of the utter disrespect for me as a human being, much less her husband? The multiple meetings with her affair partner she fit in between her part-time work and her responsibilities as a mother, all the while I was working 50 hours a week to pay the bills and renovating our kitchen through the months of Sept, Oct and Nov, on weekends, doing what I thought was my duty as the head of household, providing the nicest things I could afford for my family. Putting the infidelity aside, that is certainly the main underlying issue related to our marriage. Those things are not what she wanted at all. She wanted simple non-material things that I woefully underestimated as important. Those simple non-material things are painfully apparent now, and I am ashamed of myself of how easy it probably was to avoid this acting out she chose. I am turning into a spiritual being, I guess you would say. Things are not so black and white these past few days. There are other forces and energy here that will help me get through this, I feel. However, no matter what, the path she chose is not my fault. Again, I am comfortable the affair was over before I found out. She has indicated he was the one who ended it to work things about between himself and his wife. What if I never found out? She was so emotionally connected to this guy from what I can tell. The funny thing is, when I first found out, I stated I was going to his house, and after I left the room, she warned him via text. She also has texted him on about something else I found on the internet that clearly indicates it was common knowledge in the community that this man had cheated on his wife before. I am not surprised about this second text. What I found makes her think about how important she really was to this serial adulterer. The contact and connection are still there as I type. Gut-wrenching. Does she really get it? I can't trust her anymore. Maybe someday. Certainly not even close yet. I started to tell her the things that I would need to begin to regain trust, and she almost acted surprised at some requests. As if, oh yeah, there are consequences for what I have done if I make the choice to attempt to reconcile with my husband. She can't volunteer, as she has had for the past 8 years, at the place she had originally met this man. She can't be a part of the other volunteer organization if he was going to be there. She couldn't play in that unisex softball league if he was going to be there. His number has to be deleted. The men who send her dirty texts on Facebook, yes, I found those too, have to defriend it. Full transparency, which I have no problem with, must be undertaken. I have nothing to hide. Is she ready for this? Does she get it? Does she really want to? She will have trouble living by rules and lists. What choice do I have? Trust her not to do that anymore. Please. Based on what I have read on the subject, I seriously doubt the marriage counselor will not basically state the same exact things related to complete closure with the affair partner. Trust is earned and we must become affair-proof. After we are affair-proof, I begin my diligent effort on the non-material things she so desires. As a matter of fact, I have already started that to a certain extent. I still love this woman somehow. We begin our process tomorrow, building trust again. Moments such as this. She was at work today, dropped our daughter off at daycare around noon. Did she go straight to work from there? This is the type of schedule that allowed her to meet with this man. I asked for a picture of her work schedule like she has provided in the past. She said I will once I switch some things around. Did she say that because she needed to switch things around to attend our first counseling session tomorrow? I'd like to think so and would have thought nothing about it just a few short weeks ago. This is now my life. The other man had decided to stop supplying the addiction, affection, affirmation, perceived emotional connection, etc. to my wife. He has moved on to work things out with his wife. How long before he decides he no longer wants to work things out and is ready to supply the drug again to my wife? I truly believe this will happen, especially since there have been no consequences for this man. The question is, when will it happen and where will my wife be mentally in any reconciliation process we undertake? The first text, my wife ignores. The second text, she says don't contact me anymore. The third text, where he reminds her of what they used to have, she slightly wavers. The fourth text, it will be okay if I meet him one final time to provide final closure to this issue. I am a different person now. They meet and he lays on hard the memories and details of their connection like the predator he is. You know we are soulmates. You're my angel. Don't you remember the things you said to me about your husband? He cannot change. She gives in. There is only one way to possibly prevent this. Complete transparency with all other aspects of her daily life that could lead to this type of situation. Complete closure with this man. Complete total dedication to the process of reconciliation. Belief on her part that her husband has the potential to fill this void better than any other man. I can forgive perhaps, but I need a fair shot. I have confirmed she has not deleted this man's contact information. Why? She has no concrete reason. Isn't it a reason enough that she carried on a 6-month affair with this man and she can't just be friends with him and be married to me at the same time? He was my friend first, as this makes it okay. But what about the fact she indicated he searched the files of the place she volunteered at for her phone number? Predator. He called her. She even said she questioned the ethics of that. He handed her his number and said, call me. That is a man in pursuit of a woman for bonding. That's not he was my friend first. This doesn't add up. The story is now slightly twisted. She is not committed yet to a true reconciliation. She still has feelings for this man on some level. It only makes sense. It wasn't that long ago. Will I have a fair shot at this reconciliation? As of right now, I do not. She is naive to think I will just trust her again because she has promised not to do it again. Why doesn't she want to go above and beyond for me? For us. Some will say I am naive to a certain extent, or I am taking blame for what has occurred. There is much more to this story than I care to type or reveal in certain instances. Moving forward in this manner is the best decision for me and is what I want to do. No matter what happens, I will have to live the rest of my life with the fact the mother of my child was capable of this. She in turn will have to live the rest of her life with the decisions she made, and I hope that she looks back at the act with utter disgust and embarrassment. Time will tell. Synchronicity. No matter how much she goes out of her way to let me know what she is doing, where she is and whom she is with, our lives inherently provide ample opportunity to live a second one. I could be laying in a bed right now next to another woman typing this reply and my wife would never know. She could be in the parking garage adjacent to her place of work in the back seat of an SUV with tinted windows continuing her affair. I would never know. An analogy in my terms would be, no matter how much security you install in a building, if someone truly wants to break in, they will find a way. In this case, if the desire is there, then you really can't stop it. The only hope, yes, I said hope, is that there is no longer a desire and that which has occurred is an aberration. Perhaps a new life is reborn, rising from the ashes of the old one of which we both played a part. The truth is, 1, I know I had nothing to do with her infidelity. She was high on the drug that was fed her, developed feelings, and made a choice. 2, I know she owns 50% of a broken marriage. 3, I know I can't trust my wife right now. 4, I do know it's way too soon to forgive. 5, I know that I now have to live with the fact she could easily do it again. 6, I know that her affair partner walks these streets with no consequences for pursuing a married woman. 7. I know that as it relates to the infidelity, she should be doing everything in her power to win me back and show me she can be trusted again, at the same time acknowledge failure in the 50% of our marriage she owns. 8. I know that I was emotionally removed from her for many, many years, and I have to try to provide the things I didn't and do everything in my power to show that I acknowledge failure in the 50% of our marriage that I own. 9. I know that I so desire a meaningful relationship with her at an emotional level. 10. I know we have a young daughter for which we both owe an attempt at reconciliation if we both feel there is something there to reconcile. 11. I know we have a long road ahead of us with odds that are not in our favor. 12. I know I will never be the same person again, and nor will she. It really bleeping hurts when you drive home and go by the location where your wife met with her affair partner countless times over a 6-month period. I was so bleeping clueless, doing God knows what each time she was in the back of his SUV giving what he wanted in return for the BS perceived emotional connection. She was so deceitful the gag reflex kicks in once again as I drive by, but have to keep my composure since my daughter is in the backseat. I wonder who his new married victim will be this summer. Part of me wants to tell his wife not for her but for the next husband whose wife will end up giving into this trash. I had some bad moments during the day Saturday, didn't think about it much on Sunday or during the day yesterday, but last night the rush of pain and physical nausea set in again. I didn't sleep much. I'm sure I will continue to repeat my thoughts on some of my replies, but I can't help it as many of the initial thoughts persist, and I am sure they will for a very long time. Deceitful, dishonorable to me and her daughter, selfishness, come to mind as adjectives to describe her while she carried out this affair behind my back. I even had a dream that I suspected something during the affair and drove to their meeting location and caught them in the act. Where would we be if something like that happened, I wonder? I know so many details that the vision of their acts together is sickening at times. Yet at other times they seem to not be prevalent. Healing. Even with all these thoughts, I still somehow love this woman very deeply. What is wrong with me? Our second counseling session is tomorrow. The process of potential reconciliation continues, one day at a time. As I have said previously, the affair has been over since early December, and I am very confident of that for many reasons. I obviously don't know how things would have went down if she had to make a choice, because I had caught her in the middle of the affair back in September, October. I never will. As indicated, he is the one who called it off. I believe that at least one of the reasons is my wife probably got too attached, too emotional with this man, lost in the fantasy a bit. I think she attempted to get him involved with extracurricular activities that he wasn't truly interested in. Like a boyfriend almost, it hurts to say. She got too close maybe, and the periodic fun times were not worth the headache. I don't really know what he was thinking, but I do know how a guy thinks. He realized their relationship was going nowhere and would cause him more harm than good in the long run. I also still believe he will remember the pleasure he received from her and will attempt contact sooner rather than later. Last few weeks, I felt a sense of comfort and justification related to my thoughts and feelings as the one who was betrayed. I wish my wife had taken the time to seek this information out herself instead of me having to send it to her, which I did yesterday. I assume she has read it at this point, but I have not mentioned it. We had our second counseling session yesterday, and as it relates to our marriage, we are doing very well. I believe a lot of this has to do with the fact I had made some life-changing decisions and find a more meaningful connection with my wife prior to finding out about the affair. What I am not dealing so well with is the reality of the affair. As the document indicates, I am a ping-pong ball back and forth. I think I used the analogy of a roller coaster ride in previous replies. I certainly used this statement with my wife and the marriage counselor. A period of time I feel okay and confident we are on the path of full reconciliation, and next I picture my wife doing what I know she did with this man countless times over a 6-month period. It is so sickening. I also picture the fact that she was wearing her wedding rings doing this and then coming home to kiss her unsuspecting husband. I feel as if I will have to buy new rings for her someday, as crazy as that sounds. I guess there are many triggers in and around me I have to learn to avoid as part of the R. Almost as frustrating as the fact that she still thinks I should trust her. Again, I am 100% positive that affair is over, but some of the secret life she has led for so many years still exists. The foundation to betray me again is still somewhat in place. She is providing some effort to letting me know where she is and when, but she hasn't completely bought into the transparency concept and probably hopes I will let it go because of her promises directly to me in private and in the presence of the counselor. She lost her privileges of trust from me a long time ago. Words mean little as it relates to this. Actions are everything. I am having another bad moment. I guess I have to get used to it. I know I had nothing to do with her affair ending. It ended because of him, and I alluded to why I think it occurred, at least in part, in previous posts. I can tell from the emails it appears maybe she was trying to turn this into a real relationship, inviting him to extracurricular activities, not involving bonding. He didn't really want that, of course. I also do believe at this point she has questioned in her own mind this guy's true intention. The cards have fallen where they are. The sequence of events has occurred as they have. Plan B equals me certainly has crossed my mind. I had another bad afternoon yesterday and on into the evening. I was reading my wife's tweets from the time that the affair began, correlating exactly what was going on in our lives at the same time she was having an affair with the predator. The name I prefer is extremely painful. A summer beach vacation week in July where the affair had just begun, our daughter's birthday in August. Living such a lie. I feel like 6 months of my life was taken from me. What will those months be like here in 2021? So many triggers I will have to deal with. I guess I am at the stage where I am coming to grips with this really happened to me. I think up until yesterday perhaps I was still in a stage of disbelief. I can't change it, she can't change it. I have to learn to manage the many triggers that are around me. I have to learn that our old marriage is gone and we have begun a new one. Looking at what is in history will not help me steer into a new future. I am feeling slightly better this morning. Let's see how the day goes. My thoughts today are concentrating on the future. We have had a lot of positive aspects in our R over the last few weeks. I have even felt a sense of satisfaction that our therapist has acknowledged with her present that my continual thoughts and questions about the affair are all part of healing from the infidelity. However, I am extremely concerned and nervous how the months of July through early December 2021 will be. There will be so many triggers. There has even been the suggestion that I volunteer, along with my wife, at the same event at which she met this man originally. He will most certainly be there this coming summer. I assume a way of showing unity and that the affair is over and this man is nothing anymore. I really want to blow up at this suggestion honestly. There is absolutely no way in hell that I would not have at least words with this man if I saw him today or tomorrow for instance. I don't know how I will feel this summer, but my reaction now is I have no desire to even hear the name of the event, much less be involved or want my wife involved ever again. Why should I be put in this position? This might be the only thing that I cannot do in support of R. This should be understandable, and should be put in the past as many other things are in support of the R and the new us. I honestly hope it's not even mentioned and the event passes us by. Another significant thing mentally for me is it appears my wife has the sense that this man had a better chance of being a predator, as I like to call him, versus the nice guy, soulmate she believed he was during the affair. I have explained my thoughts of how guys operate in a more direct and graphic depiction and the therapist in a slightly more indirect depiction. I should know as I am a guy, and there was a point in my life that I too would tell a girl anything she wanted to hear to be get a time or end up in bed. Some of us guys grow up and get married and stop doing things like that. Some guys don't grow up but get married, end up hating their wives and continue to pursue other women. Predators seek out the weakness in their prey and use it to their advantage to consume their victim. I do acknowledge in the case of us humans the prey must be willing, and my wife certainly was. The predator description seems to have resonated with her. This of course is promising as it relates to complete closure and learning from her mistake. I do have the fortunate circumstance to be alone with my wife for entire week starting set out of the country, a significant event in the early stages of our R. I have not told the other man's wife yet. I do have concern that there is no direct evidence from the other man to my wife. I have one email from my wife to him trying to set up a rendezvous on one particular day for which he didn't reply, or he replied via text etc. And another email that my wife sent to him in which she copied a post she had made on a forum she belongs to about their relationship. Again, he didn't reply or the reply was deleted. This particular email is the one that provides the most insight to my wife's perceived emotional attachment to this man. His email address is clear as day in both of these emails, of course. I also have typed out a bullet point list explaining my knowledge of the affair details and addressed it to his wife by full name. My current plan is to attach the 2 emails that I have to this bullet point list and hand deliver them in a sealed envelope to the other man's wife. I know exactly where she works and it should be fairly easy to deliver this envelope to her directly. It is done. It could not have gone more smoothly in my wildest dreams. I of course confirmed I had the right woman, and then I suggested we meet in a conference room if it were available, and she didn't hesitate, almost as if she knew what was coming and was prepared for it to happen again to her. I handed her the envelope and she opened and read my facts about the affair and then reviewed the 2 emails. I pointed out certain things in the emails so she could understand them better. She was very calm through the approx. 10 minutes I sat there. There was a slight tremble and deep breath as she read certain things. The same for me of course as I explained certain things. The most prominent thing I said to her was that I was sorry I had to do this, but my wife is paying the consequences for what has occurred and now your husband should. She thanked me I think twice and showed no aggression whatsoever. Again, almost like I'm not surprised there were others. My feelings now are not related to revenge, but rather I feel a strong sense of closure and peace. If nothing else, I feel that I did the right thing by telling this woman so she can move on with her life, making an educated decision about a future with this man. This affair is now fully exposed to the people directly involved. The cards will now truly fall where they will. 57 days since I first learned I had become another statistic. 57 days since I first learned my wife had it in her to bestow upon me the ultimate in humiliation and disrespect. I can hardly believe that I have come this far, as I still love this woman dearly. My thoughts as of late, and really since I told Theo, have been less on the physical acts but more on the betrayal. It is still the gut-wrenching part at times. I am married to a woman who was capable of this and is capable of doing it again. It has been really difficult constantly wondering if she is really telling the truth on where she is throughout the day. Although I do believe that she has been since I found out about the affair. Transparency is becoming the motto in our lives, and she attempts to constantly tell me where she is and what she is doing. The problem is, as many of you know, you can't control your wandering mind as the betrayed spouse. I think she must have some realization that even though she did what she did, there have been very little consequences for her. She has kept her family. She has kept her husband, who certainly is a changed man forever. Why do I feel like I have been an accomplice to the rug sweeping at times? We really are progressing pretty well in the it is so early. Yet I feel I am forgiving already. How could I? It certainly must say a bit about me as a person, and that I am able to come to terms with the physical acts during the infidelity. I am perhaps making a choice I don't fully comprehend at times. A choice to heal and move on versus dwell on the past. No matter what, I feel that I will need to watch her like a hawk for a very long time. My wife indicated today that her parents wanted to get together with us and our daughter, as she nor our daughter has seen them in a while. I haven't seen them since Christmas, which of course is before D-Day. As soon as she told me that in our telephone conversation this morning, I had the puke in my mouth feeling. She sensed the hesitation. She did show some empathy, and we agreed to talk about it later, as I didn't even expect that reaction in myself necessarily. I assume it has to do with a sense of weakness, shame, embarrassment, and humiliation that I feel for what she did to me. Again, this wasn't I got drunk and kissed somebody. I'm sorry I bleeped up. It was I've known a guy for 8 years, and this past year I was an active participant in a 6-month deeply emotional and physical affair behind your back while you were working your ass off, providing a roof over our heads and food on the table. Both bad for a marriage, but one much worse obviously. It's like I'm scared to see these people that know what I am trying to forgive. She did communicate displeasure periodically throughout the years. I did a terrible job of recognizing how important the things I wasn't giving her were as compared to what I thought I should be concentrating on as the head of the household. Again, not an excuse for what she did to me by any means. I recognized that we didn't have a very good relationship for quite some time. I just somehow didn't realize it was in a state in her mind that she could act out in this way. Again, if you asked me a year ago about what I loved most about my wife, I certainly would have replied with trustworthy and loyal, among other things. Comical now, isn't it? There may be something to the comment regarding a sense of anger toward her parents, I must admit. However, I don't feel I hate them, as I think all in all they are good people and have been nothing but nice to me since the day I met them. There are so many thoughts that resonate, but no one thought that is of a higher percentage than the other for why. The thought of no consequences for what she has done keeps popping up. But I acknowledge I don't know what consequences I would expect her to have. She stated one of her consequences is she has to look in the mirror each day at a person who betrayed her husband. I guess this is along the thought line that she owns what she did. I didn't ask for it. The other consequence is that she will never set foot at the volunteer event ever again, regardless of if the OM is there or not. This was something she truly loved to do, and not just because of the OM this past year. That yearly volunteer event is a breeding ground for infidelity, and I could never trust her there again. I certainly can't trust the other married men there. Do you believe she actually came home 2 summers ago from an after party at the event and thanked me for being the husband that I was? She said something to the point that there were so many married men drinking and hitting on women there, and she knew I wouldn't do that. I thought I knew my wife. I was so confident in her being loyal to me. What a bleeping idiot, huh? Anyway, I am getting off on a tangent again. Maybe I get a little afraid that things are moving too fast, and just hanging out with her parents and eventually some friends this soon make things look like they didn't happen when it was only about 60 days ago. I was listing our assets for a mediation divorce, a willing accomplice in the rug sweeping. I guess I need to get that term out of my head and change it to forgiving. I will be much better off. I had stopped home for lunch today because it's on a way to a meeting I need to go to periodically. I decided to peruse her iPad and noticed a new message on her Facebook page from a girlfriend who knew my wife had an affair. The new message was nothing of significance, but I noticed that the text message chain went back to and through the time of the affair. There were 3 messages from my wife to her in this chain from late September. I also looked at my Outlook calendar to see what was going on in the life I was involved with around that time. As expected, knee-deep in our kitchen renovation. I was so distracted during this period. Anyway, she had run upstairs to take a shower, so I had a few minutes to compose myself before I read the texts out loud to her. Needless to say, we had a conversation about our I admit there was nothing new here, but the fact that I hadn't seen these exact words before was almost as devastating as the first time I found out. It just brought everything back again on how emotionally connected she was to this guy such a short time ago. I really wanted to go upstairs and curl up in a fetal position in the corner of our spare bedroom. If I was so terrible, why the bleep didn't she just leave and divorce me? I also can't help but smile a bit at the subject of 3 weeks in Las Vegas for the bleeping trash. Isn't ex-workers legal in Vegas? My God, he must have had a field day out there in between business meetings. Then after 3 weeks of crap and fun in Vegas, I'm sure he immediately met my wife again and waxed poetic. I missed you and got another good time. Except this time, it didn't cost him any money like the 10 he got the 3 weeks he was in Vegas. What a life. It's funny, as I have said in the past. I feel sorry for her because she was so naive. Anyway, I will get over this little detour down memory lane today and get back on track with our R. While the affair was going on, this friend might have been the only one who knew. She also lives halfway across the country and hasn't seen her in years. I don't understand the point of proving she is into the R by discarding her friends. In my mind, it is not necessary. Now, if I knew there was someone close, local, who actually facilitated the affair in my face, that would be a different story. I don't believe that is the case. My wife was way underground with this affair. Again, I believe they only met behind a vacant building in his car. Very classy relationship that was obviously going to last forever. What stage am I in now? I'm feeling that pit in my stomach again. I also thought I was over the visions of the physical acts she participated in with this man. Today I am not over it for sure. I see her coming home to kiss me and sleeping with me that same night after her backseat rendezvous. Absolutely no respect for me as a human being. As if I was nothing. A piece of looking straight through me probably each day and night. Holy, I want to barf. Yet now, snap of the fingers. She gets caught, the A is in the daylight. We see an MC and all of a sudden, I appear again. She loves me. She says she is sorry. I want to forgive. Why the bleep should I? Why do I still have a predominant feeling of wanting to be with her? How did my life come to this? I started my first IC session yesterday. It's painfully obvious I need it. Last night we spoke in detail about our R in the past. I felt like the most vulnerable and weak man on the face of the earth, breaking down like a child. I barely feel like a man anymore. Based on what I have seen and read, I have lived the past 8 to 9 years of my life with a woman who constantly daydreamed and fantasized about being somewhere else and with someone else, culminating in a 6-month physical affair, showing no remorse throughout. Now I am asked to put all that in the past and concentrate on the future. Hard, very hard. On Saturday, my wife was very emotional. Dare I say the most emotional I have seen, heard yet in regard to what happened. However, that thought may be heavily influenced by the fact I probably was in such a state of shock for the first week or so after I found out. I don't really entirely remember what she said or how she acted. I was too busy losing my manhood in the spare bedroom. Anyway, I had left to run some errands in the AM, and returning just before lunch I could hear my wife in the shower screaming, crying, and hitting the wall at times, saying inaudible words. When she was out, I went up to speak to her and she was still very distraught. The conversation went down many avenues, but she said in no certain order, I am not an immoral person. I am not a bad person. I'm sorry for everything. I screwed everything up. I let you down. The truth is, I believe the way she acted for a great deal of our relationship, and especially the last half of 2020, was in an immoral way, and she was a bad person as it relates to the decisions she made. My wife is not an immoral, bad person in whole by any means, but certainly as it relates to what she did, those are adjectives that should rightfully be used. I really felt a sense of remorse this time, though, I must say. In addition, I was pleased to find out she sought out and found a book that is apparently written by a BS for a WS who wants to save their marriage. Look at me using all of these acronyms. You can tell I spend a lot of time here. Last night when I turned off the lights and I shut my eyes, unfortunately I began to see the vision of the acts she performed on this man. The kissing and his hands on her and in her. Still so sickening. Either I was so tired from chasing around our near 4-year-old all day, or I am getting better at changing my train of thought because it didn't keep me up all night. That's a good thing. I plan on shredding any remaining piece of evidence that I have, including the package that I gave the other man's wife. Having and being able to read this information hurts me immensely, I have come to realize. I simply can't have it available to read. It's Monday, back to work now. I think I am beginning to understand the comments that it takes more of a man to save his family than to walk out on his family because of infidelity by one's spouse. This really is tough in so many ways, not least of which is ego. Your wife got off another man as part of a fantasy exchange. Not only that, in an SUV behind a vacant building, for Christ's sake. This is still running through my head nearly every day. The words humiliation and disrespect are so prominent I sound like a broken record. My wife bestowed a lot of humiliation and disrespect upon me to anyone who would listen out there on various forums, via FB and in real life. No question I could have been much more attentive to her needs for a very long time, and there certainly is issues on my side from a relationship perspective. But by us still being together, Aka coming back to me shows that I really wasn't that bad in the first place. She stated very recently to that type of conversation, as I always loved you deep down. My 99 reiterated that she had another option to wake me up in lieu of this nuclear disaster. As I said over the weekend, show me respect to those who listened and indirectly approved of my disrespect. There are at least two people who knew about the and never counseled her to stop and do the moral thing. The girlfriend who lives out of state and her cousin. Thankfully, I have basically no contact with either. The girlfriend out of state replied to my wife's text one time, give me the juicy details. This is mind-blowing and, as one said, shows zero support for the institution of marriage and shows this woman is truly not my wife's friend. The cousin I have met in person I think one time, and by a chain of texts between her and my wife immediately after D-Day clearly shows she is barely an acquaintance, much less a relative or even a friend. I don't think it was realistic that these individuals should have come to me, but I feel that there should have been at least some effort on their parts to counsel their supposed friend, relative, that what she was doing was wrong. Needless to say, these two will never be acknowledged by me as human beings ever again. They will never be welcomed into my house again. She has other friends in the area that I have met and hung out with 100 times along with their husbands. I believe my wife kept the underground with them and they didn't find out until we were talking divorce that first week or so after D-Day. Had one or two of these girls known about the affair, I think I would be crushed. I really hope I can find someday emails, texts, posts that paint me in a positive light to these same people who think I am the worst husband on earth. In reality, our material life hasn't changed from a day-to-day perspective since D-Day. I still work 50 hours a week, she still works 20 hours a week, we still have a 4-year-old, I still pay the bills, we both drive the same cars, live in the same house, we planned a summer vacation like we always did. The list goes on. The only thing that has changed is that we both are awake but in different ways. I know I am awake to the fact that I wasn't the best husband at an emotional level for many years. I know I am awake to the fact that I was naive for so many years in regard to the fact that I was married to a woman who was capable of acting out in this way. I know she is awake to the fact she cheated and fell for a predator and nearly lost her family in the process. I hope she is awake to the reality of life in general and is no longer fantasizing about another life. I hope she is beginning to awake to the fact that she has always had a man that could give her everything she needed, not just the material things. With all this, I am deathly afraid of letting my guard down and so afraid I will make some sort of misstep. This from the perspective of my wife potentially cheating on me again because I let my guard down and me not paying attention to her needs. So here are my feelings on a daily basis. Humbled from the great pain I have suffered, humiliation for obvious reasons, disrespected, scared, nervous, foolish, stupid, anger, uncertainty, a sense of being a failure, a sense of being less than a man, a sense of hope, a sense of desire for a better life, a sense of deep love and attraction to this woman. I can see after typing this, 2 weeks between IC sessions isn't a good idea. My comment: do you think there would ever be a proper situation for reconciliation? Comment down and tell me, can you love someone who betrayed you?